Welcome to the Megatweight podcast and YouTube channel. So this is very interesting because it was a question. Do you think that he chose that he went away from Marxist ideologies because he really believed that they were not good? Or is it because he actually was just being pragmatic or being pragmatic? Look, it's not good. It hasn't worked somewhere else. Or do you think that maybe he was still believing in Marxism, but especially being in Davos, which, representing the West and all of that, especially back in those times, was he just trying to please the West? Like back in the days, we know that both Reagan and Thatcher, for example, never said anything bad about apartheid, because they just didn't see South Africa as an ally of the West, in the Cold War. So here, do you feel like Mandela was doing turned around because he truly believed it, or did he turn around out of pragmatism, but still not believing it, but being like, well, it seems like it works, so let's do it, let's be pragmatic? Or do you think he was coattailing to the West to, because supposedly maybe they helped end the apartheid? So what you're telling me is, it seems like he really believed that Marxism is not a good economic model. That's what.
Well, the shift they took at the conference, right? The shift to change what they were going to present and say that this is no longer what we are going to do. It seemed like this is a person who learned at the time that this thing isn't going to work.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And then there was a shift as to how the ANC, the proposals, how the ANC was going to rule, South Africa when it came in. Now, that's one, that conference was significant in the sense that it shows, it also, was when you look at how, when Nelson Mandela came in 1994, many people thought that it would be a Marxist kind of revolution in South Africa, would see nationalizations, would see white people in big, yes, some white people left, were quite concerned about black rule. Sure, some did leave, but then there was going to be this wave, of chaos and white people leaving. But what happened was that when Nelson Mandela came in, there was a great deal. When you look at South Africa's economic performance during the Nelson Mandela administration, it did very well. We had lower unemployment rates in the country compared to what we have right now. We had there was a liberalization of the economy in many aspects. Right, we had better economic growth in South Africa when Nelson Mandela was in charge, right? Because there were liberal kind of things that were significant in terms of moving South Africa forward. When it comes to agriculture, when it comes to the financial industry in South Africa. So all those sort of liberal reforms did take place under Mandela. But here's what increased it, though. It was welfare. So we talk about free housing, healthcare, and so access to water, free water. Now that increased, not electricity, that kind of welfare increased. But as for Marxist nationalizations and more severe controls in the system, that really under Nelson Mandela didn't take shape, right? Because even what's called affirmative action, it didn't come under Nelson Mandela. It came in 1999 when he had left the office. Affirmative action. It never came under Nelson Mandela's administration at the time.
Really?
So, yes, I mean, it came under Thabo Mbeki, affirmative action, which we call in South Africa, Black economic empowerment. So that came under Mbeki. It never came under Mandela's administration. So, yes, Mandela, during his struggle, he was a radical Marxist, like many, liberation fighters around the world. Remember, Marxism was popular at the time, and also there had been an economist called John Maynard Keynes, the British economist, who basically after 1930s came out and said government can intervene, to achieve macroeconomic stability. So those people, economists like that, they reinforce their thinking. So there was a wave of Marxism, especially in the developing world. And Nelson Mandela, in his days, as an anti-apartheid, fighter, along with many in the ANC, they believed in that idea, right? But when we achieved democracy in 1994, the Marxist route never took shape in South Africa. We avoided that. And in many African countries, that was the case. But under Nelson Mandela, that never happened. Rather, there was a liberalization of the economy. There was the purpose or the goal to achieve reconciliation. We didn't say white people must leave South Africa. We didn't do that. We said we have to work together, even though many of you did approve of them, of the apartheid system, but we want to have reconciliation, to work together. And there were no nationalizations of some sort. So, my point is that, yes, South Africa is not from an economic point of view, it's not in good shape. But I would argue that things have gotten worse just over the past 10 years. Before that, we had better economic growth, we had better employment numbers, right? Because there was a system that was not that much hostile to markets under Thabo Mbeki, as well as Nelson Mandela as well. Things got worse under the previous administration of Jacob Zuma, where basically just everything just went from to being a mess, and that right now we are poorer than what we were.
This episode supports the upcoming release of my book, The Heart of a Cheetah: The Truth About African Poverty and the Future of Human Flourishing. Make sure to subscribe to my show on YouTube and Spotify, and follow me on Twitter. Learn more at magatwade.com.